Thanks to the user RYMC88 on MakeCode Forum, who shared their assignment process project and inspired me to make this setup tutorial. In this video, we're going to create a function called check input. Check input is a set of the actions to help your Circuit Playground Express to check if players, they press the pins, if they press the right order when the current sequence is generated. So I am going to go to functions to make a new function this time because we have to check this value if it's correct or not. So we have to add a parameter, which is going to be number. The name of the function is going to call check input. The value we can just call it input value. We're going to drag in space and where we can just create a function. This function, like I mentioned in the previous video, is a little bit complex. So we're going to start with if then. And here we also need to think about, well, input value equals to the current sequence, which we have been randomized. If you see here, pick up random 1 to 4 to end and add the value. So I am going to go to logic and choose the equals to comparison block and drag input value, put it here, equals to, go to array, and this is what I need. Instead of the list, we're going to go to check current sequence, which this value has been randomized as the input position. If you remember, we have created input position. However, we didn't do anything with the input position. So what we're going to do at the beginning, on the start, we have to come back and we set our input position to 0 because we didn't do anything yet. So right now, the input value is going to equals to the current sequence and which get the value of input position. And the input position will change later on. We will add it in this function. And here, if this equals to that, and then that's going to be 4 different parts, which we are going to logic again. And we're going to put if then. The first part, if you remember, this show sequence is going to be very similar. The first part is going to be when it's equals to 1, and I'm going to drag input value here and equals to 1. If you still remember, the first one should be upper left, which is the yellow LED. I can go back here, just remind you a little bit, upper left, lower right, and upper right. So we're going to start with the first one. Go to light, which is going to be yellow LED, 1, 2, 3. Rest of them, we're going to put them off. And again, we will have the sound. Everything should be very similar to this one. So what you can do, you can pretty much just copy paste this one. If you want to drag here, you also need to know we need to get rid of the current sequence when you put the input value. Same as the rest part of the circuit playground, you also need to change the condition to fit the code. Okay, after this done, we also need to change the input position. That means we make assumption that the players, they got it right. If they get it right, and every time we have to make the input position longer. So I am going to put it underneath if then else here and change as an input position, change by 1. And then here we're going to check if the input position equals to the length of array, which is current sequence. Then that means they get it right. If they get it right, we're going to go to the next level. So we are going to go to if then again, this time drag if true then, and here in this condition slot, I'm going to go to comparison equals 2 and I'm going to drag input position equals to the length of the array, which this array is a list. It's current sequence. And if this equals to that, then we're going to play some sound, and just to make sure we pass this, you can be power up, and then we're going to show the animation. We're kind of just giving people a little bit concept about, okay, you passed this level, we're going to go to the next one. And you can do the 500 milliseconds. Again, we're going to go back to set the input position to 0 because we're going to start a new level and we're going to clear everything. This is just a little bit looking nice, and maybe we can just pause for half second, let the players to get ready. And then again here, we're going to go to function. We're going to call add to current sequence. And then we're going to call show sequence. The current sequence means you're going to randomize this again, and you're going to add one more, and then you're going to add the show sequence. That means you're going to show up like the next level. So after this, I am going to go to click this plus button. I am going to click once, and here you can see that I have extra 2 slots here. So I am going to go to logic, get a comparison here, and change it to the greater. For this part, when we do that, that means that you got everything right. But what if you get everything wrong? Maybe you press something longer, maybe anything doesn't match. What are you going to do? So, and I am going to go to input position. If this is longer than the length of the array, the list, what are we going to do? So, of course, we're going to tell people restart it and tell you that you got anything wrong. So I am going to go to play sound. I did the power up, so this time I'm going to do the power down. And I can show another light of animation, try to tell people you get something wrong. And maybe I can do color wipe, and then I can do this for 1 second, and then I'm gonna clear it up. This is a part that if you didn't match it. However, if your input value even didn't get right, even you haven't been able to finish the whole list, for example, you start with 3, you didn't get anything right among this 3, and then that means you also get it wrong. So you're going to do the same setup. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna zoom out right now. Right now you can see this is a check input. So the check input, you're gonna check first of all within this array, current array, the list, and if you get anything right or not. So in the next tutorial, we're going to set a ping that ping sense that your players touch any pings or not.